fetch us a pint. Yeah. I told her you were 30.
Oro Blanco. 500 stick.
Compound B. That's the title we went with?
I ain't got no idea who that is.
Don't hate the player, hate the game.
Just when I thought there was a ceiling to how weird you could get.
Bees?
Welcome back to Compound B, a show about the boys. I'm Jamie Gold, second of my name, a card-carrying member of the Bills Mafia. It's easy to see that we love the boys, as we've got our very own Magnum Mills, and an actual soup. I mean, the Soupdeucer here. They're both on the show. We're loving the final season so far, and on this episode, we're discussing every one of you sons of bitches. Season 5, Episode 3. I don't know about you guys, but this son of a bitch is more than ready to talk about this one.
I said that son of a bitch doesn't know what he's got in store for.
Yeah, definitely ready for this one, man. We're 3 deep, We're moving right along here. So, yeah, I mean, it's the boys, man. Every episode's awesome, and especially this season with all the hype. I hope it lives up to it. It seems to be so far, and more to come.
Yeah, I mean, if there was only complaint, is that not everybody got to give their own, like, a son of a bitch or whatever in this episode. Some son bitch. There's always some good ones here, especially you work the accents in. But that's why we love the boys. They give us a little bit of everything, and we're here to throw our little bit of something on top of that everything. Thank you very much for checking out Compound B, a show about the boys. We are presented by Regular Dudes Watch Stuff. You can find our content wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Find us on social media at Dudes Watch Stuff, on the web at dudeswatchstuff.com. Simple and easy to remember, just like the flaps, FLAPS. Follow, like, and please subscribe. If you had fun, please remember to hit the thumb.
From this point forward, there will be full-on spoilers for all aired episodes of The Boys, Gen V, and The Boys Diabolical. And yes, we know there are some leaks out there for the upcoming episodes. We haven't read them. We won't be discussing them. And please keep the discussion clean for the unsullied. That's it. Spoilers from this point forward. If you don't know, now you know.
Now we know.
And knowing is half the battle.
This is Every One of You Sons of Bitches, Season 5, Episode 3, the 35th overall episode of The Boys, originally released April 15th, 2026. Directed by Karen Gaviola. This is the 3rd episode of The Boys she has directed after directing the 2nd and 6th episodes of Season 4. Written by Ellie Monahan. This is her 4th solo written by credit on The Boys. Also co-wrote Season 1, Episode 7. 3 special guest stars here. They're all very special. Once again, Jensen Ackles as Soldier Boy. Then we have Elizabeth Shue as Madeline Stillwell and Giancarlo Esposito as Stan Edgar. Couple of guest stars here. We have Omid Abtabi as Dr. Samir Shah and Zach McGowan as Dognot. The plot synopsis, according to Vought, is storm her senses with V-Bro Mango Thunder body spray by Vought. She'll never know what hit her.
Before we dive deep into the episode, let's start with our overall thoughts. Soup, you've been feeling this season so far. We knew you would. Did Episode 3 keep the good times rolling?
Yeah, I think so, man. I mean, I don't feel like it really took its foot off the gas. It might have slowed down just a bit, but it crammed a lot in. So, I mean, there's a lot going on there, man. A lot of ingredients, a lot of angles, a lot of angles to play. So it's a
lot going on with that statement. You kind of crammed it all into the statement as well. So I like that. It's good.
Yeah. But yeah, all in all, a good episode, man. They're keeping it rolling, dude. So I'm about it.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I thought this was a really well done episode. I liked kind of how they went right in and we figured out kind of the angle for this season, or what we think it's going to be with the V1 or whatever, right? With the old school stuff. I like getting kind of some of the boys teamed up, kind of going on a mission. I really liked how they filmed it, where it was like, from the boys' perspective, but then also like Team Homelander's perspective around this V1. So I thought it was really good. Excited to see where they go from it. I don't think they took their foot off the gas at all. Again, looked good, sounded good. The dialogue is just unfreaking believable and hilarious when you really zone in there. But yeah, great episode.
I would call this a high-end chess piece moving episode. It is really a setup episode, but they jam so much in it, like the Soup said, that you barely notice. Ton of guest stars, guest Soups, a lot of plot points moving forward. You see Ryan for the first time, so I think they did a good job with that. You do notice if you step back, you talked about how good the dialogue is, but for the first 10 minutes or so, there's not that much because it really is a lot of setup, but they do interesting things like Jamie G pointed out when they're trying to explain everything with V1 in the virus and original V. They cut between the two different discussions, one with Sage, one with Samir. It makes it more interesting. It makes it feel like you're not just sitting there in a classroom getting a lecture, which it can feel like when you're kind of just getting rid of the plot points and kind of getting through them here. I think that they did a good job of that. So that's really my only complaint. It was fun to see Ryan again. He kind of brought the episode in with a bang and gets kind of a big moment here towards the end. Again, full spoilers here, so I think we're very happy with this one. Do y'all think it made any difference here that this was individually released? If this had come out in the previous seasons, this would have been one of the first three that they usually drop. Do you think you enjoyed it any more or less because it was put off here on its own instead of being released with the first group? What do you think, Jamie G? Do you think that changed the way you view this episode at all?
I think it did a little bit. I think just so much happened in those first two episodes, and they were so action packed. I think it was a really smart move to go to just two and then release this one. I think this gave me time to think about how the hell are they going to do this thing with Soldier Boy, right? With him sitting up like that. What's it going to be? Where do they go from here? Kind of thing. I thought it helped this episode that it released on its own.
I think I'm with you with that. What do you think, Soup? Do you think giving this one a week to breathe benefited it more than would have if it came out in a 3 episode drop to open the season?
Yeah, 100%, man. I mean, I can't really say anything other than what you guys have already said. So yeah, I'm right there with you on all that.
We'll take the
the
cosign.
space
That's all we're
between was
really looking
important.
for.
And I think this time, I think viewers needed it, to kind of catch your breath and get into, and, to be able to get into this one and fully enjoy it rather than just trying to like, ram it in with the other two.
Yeah, I think streamers are now going more back to the weekly release model, which I am cool with. I know some people do enjoy the binge, but I think especially the higher quality of the show, the more attention should be paid to it on a weekly basis. If you want to drop some reality show and do the whole thing at once or something like that, that's great. But something like this, with this much time put in, this much of a budget, give it room to breathe. So I think we're all on the same team there. So full on cosign for the slightly less packed release schedule.
I think we are ready to dive deep into the episode here with the seven.
We are in the seven, and we're going to start out at the top, work our way down at number seven. We're just going to do the nuts and bolts here. Just like the show, you kind of have to deal with the discussion of it all. And what do y'all think? Did they do enough to kind of clearly lay out the stakes here with the V1 versus the current V? It was something we saw in the trailer, so we knew it was coming. What do you think, Soup? Did they do a good enough job to be like, all right, here's the deal. Do you understand good enough? And does it work for you? Is this okay? Like Soldier Boy being immune because of this? Does it feel cheap or does it work? Do you think they set it up enough?
I think it works, and I think it's not super complex where you can understand it. Yeah, and I think the way that's done is more, it's just better for somebody watching the show or trying to pay attention to the show, without having to spend too much time trying to figure out why. It's just like, okay, that's what it is. When you get your basic explanation, even like even the simple drawing that Samir did, like kind of, that's all you need. Okay, cool, we get it. You don't have to go any further with with the details and all the scientific shit, and that's good enough, and we know what the deal is. Let's move on.
Yeah, they did it without the whole explain it like I'm 12 or whatever, you know what I mean? Without doing that thing. Jamie G, you on the same boat here? You like the way they dealt with it? You think they made it simple enough to understand what's going on without kind of glossing over it?
I think they did, and I think that it's one of those things too where I like how they filmed it. Like I like how you got it split between both groups, trying to understand what it is, find out how they might be able to get their hands on it, and it created that kind of like this race towards it. And so I think because of how they filmed it, how they did it, it worked even that much better. So it had to be something. What else are they going to do here? I think it makes sense. There's a lot of stuff that we learned with Godolkin and stuff that like there was some early on experiments and stuff. So if you watched Gen V, I think it kind of made it make sense even a little bit more.
Well, see, that's one thing that I don't know if I have a problem with it. Depends on how they play it. But in the again, we said all spoilers for all the Gen V. But in the second season of Gen V, the whole thing that Marie Moreau was part of the Odessa project was a huge deal because it was her and Homelander. In here,
Yeah.
I don't know who knows that. We do know that Annie knows that because she's the one who put Marie onto it in the first place at the beginning of season 2 of Gen V. But the fact that Sage just tells Homelander, like, oh no, you just got shot up with regular V, that means it's either an incredibly huge retcon or I think more likely Sage is lying to him. And maybe he did get shot up with compound V. I mean, if he just got shot up with V, why even use like Soldier Boy sperm, right? I mean, is it like kind of doubling up or something? So I feel like there's more to that, right? I'm not crazy. What do y'all think? Is Sage lying to Homelander about this, or do you think they're going to legitimately just skip over the Odessa stuff? Jamie G, you brought it up. What do you think?
I think she's lying to him. And I think the show will be better off utilizing her to do some cunning shit. She just kind of hasn't. I don't know, man. I'm not a huge Sage fan, and we talk about it every week. I don't like the big brain superpower because it's to me it's just a cop out. But like, use it. You already did it. She's there. Like, use it. Like, give her something to like manipulate and control him. Do something with it. So I'm gonna say that's what's happening. I hope I'm right.
What do you think, Soup? Is this part of the plan, or are they just skipping over this because they didn't match up the scripts or something?
No, I don't. I would hope not.
Yeah.
If you a show like this, that's too much. That's kind of a big fuck up if that's the case. So I know I think she's definitely lying to him for whatever reason. I mean, she's well aware of the Odessa situation and of the different variations of the V that both Homelander and Marie Moreau have gotten compared to the other regular V apparently or whatever it is. And then
Yeah, I guess whatever current V or modern V or what have you. And I guess the other thing here, they're maybe glossing it over a little bit. It was a huge deal that Ryan was the first natural born Soup, right? Like we don't know.
Yeah.
I guess he has V in his, but not in his blood, right? Maybe it's in his DNA. I don't know if there's a difference. And JBG, what do you think? Is there a chance that maybe they can find something within Ryan's blood, maybe that can work, as a vaccine or a way to counteract the V1 or something like that, maybe?
Maybe. I mean, it was a huge deal. Like he was the first natural, and he's strong. He's got a lot of the same powers as Homelander. It's weird because like it wasn't hereditary. We didn't think, but I wish we didn't get enough on it, so I don't really know. But yeah, I guess it's possible.
Yeah, what do you think, Stu? Could maybe, Ryan's kind of genetic heritage come into play here? I mean, be kind of way using maybe Homelander against himself or something like that?
I don't know if there is or not, but I would think there's a reason why they haven't really, leaned into that aspect of things. But him being the only natural born Soup ever, and being as powerful as he is, I think there's something there. I always have thought there's been something there, so that might be, it might be a reason they're saving it for like maybe the big reveal at the end to cap the show off or something, or what for whatever reason. It would be a shame to kind of just leave it hanging. So I think it's there's something with it, coming.
Yeah, I hope so. A lot of phrasing in that one, but I also hope that it is coming there. And there is a tiny bit of setup for the Vought Rising prequel. They mentioned that V1 only worked on Soldier Boy, Bombsight, Torpedo, Private Angel, and Stormfront, who was known as Liberty back then. So that's definitely a little bit of setup there. And I'm kind of curious because they use Immortal here, but that's not the same thing as Invincible, right? Because Stormfront dies by biting off her own tongue and choking on it. But Huey at one point points out Homelander could just fly up into space and just hang out till it's over. So, I guess he doesn't need to breathe. Do you think that they are making things too complicated when it comes to figuring out who can die and who can't? Remember, Newman was invincible until Butcher just kind of easily ripped her in half, right? So, what do you think, Super? They've been consistent enough with the rules here, or are you a little bit worried that they're playing it fast and loose?
No, but I think they've always done that. They're definitely inconsistent with the rules. It's very vague as to what people's powers and weaknesses are, if any. So and because it varies from soup to soup, then I get it where maybe nobody fucking knows, even in that universe. But as far as us as viewers, it's definitely been very vague. But it's always been that way. So I don't think they're just trying to rush it right now. I think it's that's just the way it's been and how it is.
Yeah, it's probably intentionally vague. It's both a good strategy and a solid album name. Jamie G, have they been good enough with the powers and this, who can die easily enough for we talked about it with Kamiko, like how much for needs to be left to regenerate or what have you. Are you okay with this, or does it bother you at all that we're not quite sure what it actually takes to kill one of these people at this point?
Yeah, I think the only saving grace to Soup's point there is they've been consistent with the vagueness. And so I think at this point, kind of on the run here, I'm okay with it. Yes, it would be nice, but it also, from a writing and a production standpoint, it boxes them in a corner to be able to be like, well, this is the specific way that Homelander can die, and this is a specific way that Soldier, So I understand why they didn't do it. I think the show's good enough outside of that to where it's like, unless you got one of those people where like I could see where some people would super bother them, but I'm okay with it because they've been so consistent throughout the entire series.
So you're saying they've been consistently inconsistent, which again,
Yes.
good strategy from a writing production standpoint, also solid album name. So we'll go with that. Let's move on to number 6 of the 7 here and talk about Soldier Boy. And man, I am glad that they kept this guy around because he has some absolute gold nuggets he is dropping this episode. Kind of fun montage at the beginning where you see him photoshopped into a bunch of pictures with previous politicians, all that kind of thing. And again, a case of the politics hitting a little bit close to home, where to basically make him right again, they're like, oh no, we were secretly partnering with Russia the whole time, and they got the really bad Photoshop of Soldier Boy and Putin. So yeah, that was the thing that they did apparently and wrote a long time ago. And here's a fun one. We talked about kind of the bullshit name of bills that they'll call so you can't possibly vote against them because they're so patriotic. They give Soldier Boy the Democratic Medal of Patriotic Freedom. Jamie G, on a scale of 1 to 4 in terms of keyword patriotic names, where is this one, with 1 being the lowest, 4 being the best? Where does this one stand? The Democratic Medal of Patriotic Freedom.
I mean, I think it's got to be just 7.
It's very, I mean, who's going to vote against that, right, Soup? I mean, Democratic Medal of Patriotic Freedom. Like, tell me which word in that phrase is bad.
That's the thing. You string a bunch of words together, and hey, man, it's very alluring.
Yeah, nothing's bad in there. It makes you seem like a jerk to even consider it bad, and that's the point.
In that setup, a kind of a fun runner here where it feels like Soldier Boy is now even less concerned with what Homelander thinks, knowing that Homelander kind of was willing to let him die, throwing into the wood chipper here, so to speak. And Homelander tries to defend himself, like, hey, I told you to give me a call, but still, he did put him out there knowing what could happen. And Soldier Boy comes at him at the very end of kind of their initial interaction after the press conference. Soldier Boy says,
Look at you. Just the softest, wettest boy. You're pathetic. You're nothing at all.
doesn't that sound like nightmare fuel for Homelander, right? I mean, this is his dad basically telling him he is the worst ever. That's something, right? It definitely sets up, I think, the attitude that Homelander has for the rest of this episode, which I would call increasingly delusional. What do you think, Jamie G? Did Soldier Boy kind of really just trigger Homelander here? And again, kind of at the end of that exchange, he starts hearing Stillwell in his head again.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, this hit him at his core, right? I mean, he's already, you know, floating on being very close to losing it completely. Now you have Soldier Boy telling him he's weak and pathetic and all this stuff. And I think inside he knows he is. And it's, yeah, dude. I mean, it's just this season has really been a continuation of the downfall of Homelander's mental facilities, really.
And on the flip side of that, it does feel like Soldier Boy is on the come up here, right? Because as more and more people grow disillusioned with Homelander, they're probably willing to jump onto Team Soldier Boy. He's got a fun runner here with Sherry Lewis. He talks about, I think, shitting on her tits and banging her on a balcony at Studio 54. And if you look her up, she's a very nice lady who was like a children's ventriloquist and puppeteer back in the day. So that's one of those like really crazy specific Soldier Boy references. And let me ask y'all, at what point were you sure that him and Firecracker were going to bang? Jamie G, you're wearing the very patriotic firecracker-like outfit here. Like, at what point there when they started doing that little interview did you figure out they were going to take a role in the sheets?
Well, there was some hardcore BE going on. And for those of you that don't know, BE is banging energy. And there was a lot of banging energy going on. I felt like pretty early on this is probably going to happen. I mean, the way she was looking at him, even before this scene, I felt like it was kind of a must that they were going to do the do.
And Soup, how did you like this in terms of like the proverbial kind of like, I'll show you mine if you show me yours, a little bit of not quite a dick measuring contest here, but they were both kind of stroking their guns for each other, right?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think it was, I just think it was the part of what led up there was leading up to the outcome there. So, you know,
Well, I think it's interesting too that once they're kind of post-coital in the bed, Soldier Boy kind of admits, like, I was just banging you to get back at Homelander, basically. And he is more or less amazed that they haven't banged. So I think they're setting, again, something up here. They've already set it up that Firecracker is scared of Homelander. Everyone's kind of scared of Homelander. What do you think, Jamie G? Is Soldier Boy, even if he's not even trying to, maybe drawing people to his side? I don't know if Firecracker's that powerful in a fight, but she certainly has a big platform.
Yeah, and I think that the other thing too is now that people know that Homelander can die, there's a kink in the armor. Nobody likes Homelander. Everyone's just terrified of him because he's been the most powerful person in the world, right? And so I think now that there's a kink in the armor here and they know he can die and Soldier Boy can't, yeah. I mean, hey, he's Soldier Boy seems better than the craziness of Homelander. Homelander has not been good to the people around him. It's not like he treats his people well. So, yeah, I could see that a little mutiny. I mean, they kept referencing Caesar. It's like I think that's a great example and an analogy kind of what's happening with around Homelander right now.
And a great reference is, Soldier Boy has a few just classics in this episode. But have you ever had a threesome with Gary Busey? Because Soldier Boy has, and Soldier, like, dude, Homelander is stranger than that, and he's been in some weird spots, as I think what he's saying. But I think that maybe the main takeaway here is at one point, Soldier Boy thinks that Homelander is just whatever, whatever, whatever. But Firecracker tells him, like, no, you don't understand the way he looks at you. I've never seen him look at anybody that way. Maybe not awe or admiration, but something else, like something where he really cares what he thinks. We know that's kind of ingrained to him. But what do you think, Soup? Is there a chance that Soldier Boy is going to try to do something with this information, kind of knowing that even if he disdains Homelander, maybe he can manipulate this dude?
yeah, absolutely. This information I don't think would have taken place if it wasn't going to be necessary. I think every sentence, every word, every moment counts in this final season here. So everything's going to mean something. So yeah, I do think that we're gonna see some kind of that's going to come up again. I don't know if it'll come up again, but it'll get used in some way.
Yeah, what do you think, Jamie G? Are you with us here? Like Soldier Boy is going to kind of possibly lean into the fact that Homelander does have some sort of affection for him?
I think yes. But I think it's to get what he wants, which is number one of Vought and that type of power and control that he saw, Homelander have in episode 2.
Well, that's a good point. When he's like, yeah, when since the president basically sent for you, you know what I mean? And yeah,
Yeah.
so I think that was the one time he did respect Homelander. So I think that's a very good point there. Next up, let's move into number 5 of the 7 and kind of focus on the Homelander stuff. We already talked about when he was getting kind of shit on by Soldier Boy there. He started hearing Stillwell in his head. But that came right around when he publicly admitted, I think he felt bad that Soldier Boy was overshadowing him, right? So he comes out, he tells everybody, like, yo, Soldier Boy is my dad. And Jamie G, do you think this is going to be something that has a major impact on the plot, or is this just kind of, they'll kind of wave it off and it's just Homelander doing his thing and it won't really matter?
I think they'll probably make this into something. I just think it's got a lot of possibilities of where they can go with it. To me, it's too good not to keep it going.
What do you think, Soup? Do you think this will be like a plot point going forward, or they'll kind of gloss over it?
I don't know if it'll be a plot point. I think it'll be there, but I don't know if it'll
Maybe
be.
just one of those things. If the it all starts unraveling for them, maybe this is one of the threads people can pull on. If you remember back in season one, Homelander was filming some sort of documentary in what was supposed to be his childhood home. Remember Randy Setback put the blanket in there, and so he killed him because he was weirded out because that was a blanket from the lab or whatever. So that's
Hmm.
kind of a deep cut back to season one, but there was already a publicly established story. So again, they'll have to keep spinning it. Overall, when you saw Sage, she is the spin master here. It definitely seemed like she was not happy with the idea that he was, giving away this information more or less. And then, we get to the big. I don't know if it's the biggest scene of the episode, but man, when Homelander starts having delusions or dreams or whatever it is, super. I think we called, maybe I called it. I'm not sure who did, but on the season preview, we talked about maybe Madeline Stillwell would show up. We'd heard her voice. Here, Elizabeth Shue full on shows up. And talk about timing. This is right around the time where there have been some Jesus related posts by an executive of a certain country. This blew my mind, and especially the cut. Not only all the things that they say to each other, but then when you just cut to what it's actually going on, and it's just Homelander there on his knees worshiping nothing. I have some theories here about how the O Father and Sage might be involved, but first, just overall in the scene, Jamie G, what do you think? I think the boys have done some crazy stuff over the years. This isn't as visually crazy, but this scene was kind of nuts, right?
Yeah. And just what she was saying to him and everything, it's like yeah, dude, he needs to, he is so weak and he does need that constant love and support. But she was also telling him basically was what we've always kind of feared he would do is just kill everyone that doesn't, fear him and agree with him. And that's kind of what crazy lunatics in power do. And we've seen that throughout all of times of mankind. So yeah, this was a wild one.
Yeah, rip babies from their mothers' wombs, skin parents in front of their children. And Super was kind of your kind of just initial thoughts on just kind of Stillwell and just being such a crazy over the top scene that, we knew Homelander was losing it, but this is like high end losing it, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously it's a hallucination, but it's like full blown. He's really believing this. This is dangerous. The way that conversation ended and the fact that he is like that might be the straw that breaks the camel's toe right there. I think his descent into madness is full on at this point.
Right, because now he has conviction behind his delusion, so to speak,
Uh,
right? You know what I mean? And like, everyone can
Well, it's
believe
not
whatever they
him.
want to
It's
believe,
not
but
He didn't come up with those things. He's being told to do it by a higher power. It's a built-in ability for him to not blame himself for these things and do them anyways.
right, it's you can very easily devolve into rules for thee but not for me, kind of where certain things don't apply. And I don't want to get full into predictions here, but I will say I think this is him being manipulated by an outside force. I don't think it's full on psychosis. What do you think, Jamie G? Is this just purely, we've seen it, Homelander talk to himself in a mirror before? Is this just the next level of that, or do you think he is being physically manipulated by someone or something else?
Yeah, I think he is because, we've kind of gotten it almost in each episode here since they introduced the religious the gemstones, as I
The
like
O
to call
Father.
it. Oh Father there. And we saw it in the church with where he had that moment. They've been kind of teasing it a little bit, so I do think there's something going on here and could explain why Sage, maybe was lying to him. So I definitely think there's something going on.
I think I'm on the team O Father as far as that theory. What do you think, Soup? Is this just Homelander is absolutely nuts, or is maybe somebody, using their abilities or influence him to kind of lean into that craziness?
I wouldn't say no. I definitely think that's a possibility. My thing is why? Why would you want somebody like that going on a fucking murder spree? Um, or encouraging that, so
The
I don't
lightest thing I
know.
could say is if that's the way they're going, it would lead closer to the comics ending in a way, at least maybe not exactly how it happens, but in terms of tone, not to give huge spoilers, but like the idea that there's some like irrational craziness going on that might be brought on by another character would fit in with kind of the final arc of the comics, if I'm being broad about it.
Okay, and it also, there's also the thing where, okay, maybe I wouldn't be totally shocked if that were the case, but to be able to fool him also would take a lot. So it would have to be, somebody like Sage behind it or something like that to be able to trick him like that on a
Good
level.
point. Like Newman couldn't even like pop his head, right? He's like, "Oh, go ahead and try." Like, so, like no one else's powers have really, we see Ryan take a bunch of swings and only draws like just a tiny bit of blood. He's been hit
Yeah.
a ton of times, and we've only really even seen him bleed it all just twice, and that was just a tiny bit. So, I think that makes sense, but that leads to his full embrace of the delusion, more or less, and then he just kind of gives up hiding it. Jamie G, what was your initial reaction when you saw Homelander bathing in a tub full of breast milk?
I knew right away. I laughed so hard at what Soldier Boy said though with his with his pubes, but it's yeah, it's pretty crazy. I mean, the fact that he even can get that much. Initial thought was like, dude, there's a lot of kids in the world that are starving, and you're just like bathing in breast milk. That's like food for children. Yeah, that's just how bad of a human being he is, or whatever he is.
Yeah, they're not soup kids though, so I don't think he cares soup. What was your initial thoughts just seeing Homelander there and realizing exactly what he was doing?
At first I wasn't sure, because Soldier Boy reaction right away comes in there. He's like, "What in the fuck?" So I thought when the camera came up like that, I was expecting to see some dead bodies or something like that. But no, it turned out he was, bathing in fucking tit juice. And hey man, weird, but whatever. It's not surprising to me at all.
That's a great point. There are just so many golden quotes by Soldier Boy here. I know one of these is getting used as a favorite quote, so I'll exclude that one. But just let me ask you, I mean, even the other three quotes at Jamie G, I'll start with you. I just want you to give me your favorite. First, you have
But what, you asked me up here so I could watch you swim in tit jizz?
at number two, we have
Yeah, what makes you so sure?
An angel told me. It's my destiny.
Just when I thought there was a ceiling to how fucking weird you could get.
and then finally at number three, you mentioned it, the Just for Men.
You know, all I see is a freak. A freak with a bushel of gray pubes. Try some Just for Men.
Jamie G, what's your favorite of those three? You got the Titches. You going with the Ceiling to Weirdness or Just for Men?
I got to go with Just for Men here. It was just too good. All of them are good, but Just for Men was my favorite.
That was just a great burn for the way out, too, man.
And talk about being disappointed in ultimately, I mean, Homelander was trying to show dominance, right? He felt more confident now that he could do whatever he want. He gets out there. That is not the reaction you want if you hang dong, I'm pretty sure. Like Soldier Boy kind of looks, almost shakes his head, like that's just like, oh son, like what are you doing even? I don't think that was the reaction he was looking for, to say the least.
I mean, no, I don't think that's a reaction anybody wants when they're getting ready to, stand up with confidence, butt naked, hanging dong, dude. You want it's not what you want there. So
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what D called it when Mac hung dong in Thunder Gun Express. It looked like a
Plus, I hung dong on the trolley. You guys missed that.
Nah, I didn't miss it. I saw it. I chose to ignore it.
I saw it. Looked like a button in a fur coat.
Either way, it was totally Thundergun.
If Thundergun's dong looks like that, we should all get our money back.
Yeah, I'm walking out of the movie.
And Homelander is now completely in. He no restraints, no restrictions. He's like, yo, crime analytics. All we're doing is trying to track down the V1, and we're gonna take the pharmaceutical department. All we're doing is trying to remake V1, skip the animal testing, go right to the people in camp. So they're definitely ramping up the pressure both on what Homelander wants and what Sage is going to have to do. And I thought it was a very good callback here. Homelander had this religious experience. At the very end of the episode, when Deep brings in Stan Edgar, he literally kind of looks up to the heavens. So I think they're really leaning into this. And it's something that's going to continue going forward. And then the other aspect of Homelander here, it was tough to figure out exactly how you talk about Ryan here. I do enjoy what they've done with Ryan this season, but he's kind of defined by who he interacts with. And we talked about Homelander not really ever be having blood drawn from him here. We do see that final fight scene with him and Ryan. Jamie G, did you ever think at any point that Homelander was actually going to be able to kill him?
yes, when he slowed down and then went for the another one, I thought there was a chance, but I was, to me, it would have been, I guess if Ryan's going to die, you would have wanted it to be at the hands of his father, right? So, I mean, I could see it, but I wasn't certain he didn't kill him. I'll say that.
There would have been a nice symmetry after Butcher just having told him that he killed his father, I guess. What do you think, Soup? When we kind of saw that Homelander Ryan fight, do you think he really, at any point, did you think he actually finished him off, or were you pretty sure he was probably going to survive that?
I was pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. The whole time I was pretty sure he was going to survive. And like I was always wondering because you see that scene in the teaser and shit of Homelander is beating the shit out of somebody, and we didn't know who it was, so now we know who that was, and the fact that it was Ryan, I was a little bit disappointed because I already know that you're not going to be able to kill him like that, so I did not think so. The fact that he even incapacitated him the way he did, was kind of a little bit shocking, but I don't know. I think that's a to be continued fight, actually.
I hope so. I mean, Ryan went for the jugular. If you look, like when he went with the first laser, he went for Homelander's heart. I don't know,
Yeah.
maybe he should have gone for his eyes, but it looked like he went for the kill shot. And he was legitimately trying it. There's kind of some nice subtle stuff. Like he's at where I believe in season 2, Stormfront and Homelander took him to Planet Vaw, the Planet Hollywood stand in here where was supposed to have a good time. He worded out a little. Now they're changing it to Planet Homelander, where instead of all the heroes, it's just all Homelander. So that was a nice touch there. Again, you kind of get the callback to Mallory last season telling Ryan the truth that Homelander raped his mother. It wasn't a consensual relationship. And then there's the idea that Ryan can use Homelander's own tricks against him. When he asks him about that, he catches that Homelander's heart is racing. And I like that, right? That was kind of cool, right? Jamie G. Homelander's pulled that trick since the beginning of the show. It was nice to finally see Ryan turn it back on him. And it kind of shows, I think, that Ryan is, at least, he's not as powerful as Homelander, but he's certainly grown his powers quite a bit since we've seen him last.
Yeah, he's not as powerful yet, right? But it gives you a hope to see, okay, he could be more powerful one day. I mean, he definitely it was cool to see Homelander kind of squirm a little bit and try to, get out of why his heart rate was elevated and stuff. And I definitely thought it was cool they did that with Ryan.
Yeah, maybe even a little bit of a callback to the previous episode where Homelander was detecting all the people who were scared of him, their hearts were racing. So again, I think a pretty solid bit of writing there, in a solid bit of acting at the very end of that when Butcher comes in. That's the point where you're not quite sure if Ryan is alive or not, and you kind of see him just switching. Butcher does seem relieved, despite whatever way you're supposed to feel about it. So let's get into Billy Butcher here at number 4 of the 7. They did an interesting job in this episode trying to put forth the idea that, like, whichever of Ryan's father figures he follows, be it Butcher or Homelander, it's going to end in a lot of blood. And they showed that at the beginning of the episode, right? Ryan is having fun, but he just kills a couple of Russian dudes to cover his tracks, right, Soup? So, I mean, do you think they're doing the right thing here, kind of setting up Ryan as an ambiguous character who could go either way, but all of his influences are bad. So it makes it feel like it's going to be even harder for him to, turn to the light side or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, it's tough because like at the end of the day, you like to think that when all's said and done, that maybe Ryan's as I was saying earlier, maybe the good guy that solves the problem, maybe gets rid of Homelander and ends up victorious on top if that's the way it falls. But and he has that potential. He also has the potential to go down the same road or worse than Homelander is right now.
JBG, what do you think? Do you like the idea that they're kind of making it that Ryan is almost damned if he does, damned if he doesn't by following either of his father figures, or do you think it kind of makes sense given the narrative they've set up?
Well, it makes sense, and I think it's cool because from a viewer standpoint, it keeps you guessing on what will he do or won't he do. He's still young and malleable, and you saw Butcher got to him to the point where he was willing to give his life, to end Homelander. So I think it's still kind of like a little bit of I think it works for the show more, knowing not necessarily sure which way he'll go.
And there were some interesting, intense moments when they first meet up. Butcher apparently knows that Ryan is dating Zoe, which, I mean, they did meet in the season 4 premiere, so that makes a little bit of sense, but we're still not quite sure where Butcher is getting his intelligence from or where Ryan found out where to go into that old CIA safe house in Russia. We don't know where he got that information. So that's something we might talk about in predictions and theories. Ryan gives the little shove to Butcher there, and he doesn't go flying. He's like, yeah, it's not like it used to be. I can take this, not like Mallory. So he throws that at him after, remember, Ryan shoved Mallory to her death at the end of season 4. And then they kind of go for a drink. And Butcher takes a very certain tactic here, and he treats Ryan like an adult. I'm not 100% sure that they haven't fudged the timeline here. We see it both with Maverick and Ryan in this episode. I think they both feel a lot older than I would have thought. I'm not sure Ryan is really of the legal drinking age there, but I think it makes it feel like he has a little more gravitas here, a little more stake in the game. Like maybe he could take down Homelander. Jamie G, do you like the approach they took with Ryan and Butcher here, where Butcher, for the most part, levels with him at least as much as Butcher ever is willing to, for the most part?
Yeah, I thought it was good because I mean, you know, there's a love-hate here, and Butcher's messed up this relationship and done wrong by what, Ryan's mother, Butcher's wife, wanted to have happen here. But now Butcher's so far gone that he's just trying to see an end to Homelander and really to all soups. So to me, I like the little heart to heart here. I thought, getting him a proper pint. I don't know that Ryan is much more than 15, 16. So, but hey, man, good for him. Got himself a nice proper pint.
And we get, Sam Butcher's drinking prayer here.
Plus, I hung dong on the trolley. You guys missed that.
Nah, I didn't miss it. I saw it. I chose to ignore it.
I saw it. Looked like a button in a fur coat.
Either way, it was totally Thundergun.
If Thundergun's dong looks like that, we should all get our money back.
Yeah, I'm walking out of the movie.
Soup, what did you think here with the interaction between Butcher and Ryan? Did it feel right? Do you think Butcher's solely trying to manipulate him? Is he still trying to kind of do proper by him? I mean, he pretty much tells him, like, look, you're going to go to your death, but at least you'd save the world. But then later on, he's like, yeah, I was just saying whatever I had to say to lure you, to have you lure Homelander out so we get him with the virus. You can't top him without the virus. How do you like how they've kind of approached the dynamic here between Butcher and Ryan?
I'm for it, dude. Whether he's manipulating or not, I think the intentions are still, as far as Butcher goes, good. I mean, there's still some heart there. He still cares for Ryan, and I think I think we can tell. So I don't think it's entirely bad intentions.
I think that's a fair assessment there. We do get confirmation here that Butcher killed his father, Sam, dropped him in the Tim. So we were kind of wondering if he went through with it, and that's kind of a hell of a thing to tell to Ryan, right? He's like, I wish I had done it sooner. So I think that aspect of it makes sense that he is, being honest. And I think that the real key is, hey, Jamie G, let me ask you, Ryan asked the key question here. Do you think I can turn out like Homelander? And Butcher, basically says like, yeah, it's possible, more or less. He certainly doesn't say it in the negative. Do you think that was the right approach here? Do you like how they're handling it? It feels like a classic Jamie G here. Column A, column B, Butcher is trying to both care for Ryan, but also accomplish his objectives.
Yeah, I think so. But he straight shot him. I mean, there is a chance that he could. Now he could have been like, no, you've got your mom in you. You're never going to be evil like that, which is probably true. But when anybody has that much power, man, depending on what happens, like they could go the bad route. So, but he needed to get him to agree to do this because that's really the only shot of getting Homelander.
Soup, did you buy that Ryan would do this? Him and Butcher have been kind of estranged. Do you buy like that he would, kind of do this knowing he was going to his death?
I think in the moment Ryan was convinced and full on ready to go through with it. Yeah. Not so much for Butcher, but for the greater good of, the world. Once he broke it down, or once, Butcher broke it down like that, I think it kind of hit him, and it kind of hit Ryan in a way where, okay, that may, as fucked
well,
up.
How do you say no to that, right? It's kind of like when we're talking about the Patriotic Freedom Act of give people money who need it or whatever. Whatever you want to call it, it makes it feel like, how do you actually say no to that? But I do like how they brought up Becca Butcher pointed out that, yeah, this isn't what your mom would have wanted for you, but she doesn't understand the kind of the circumstances on the ground here. And you know that Ryan is carrying a ton of guilt. And I think that's a crucial parallel that they're working with the writing. Jamie G, it feels like Ryan and Annie are going through the same kind of thing, right? It feels like they're experiencing now the thing where it feels like everybody they get close to dies despite their best intentions. Do you like that? Do you think they're going to kind of go somewhere with that, maybe?
I think so. And we saw it with Starlight kind of fly up and leave everybody and leave Huey there. I mean, it killed her knowing that Huey almost died. I think they're gonna have to go somewhere with that. I mean, I just think that they built it up too much not to. So yes, I think they are.
Anybody, anything else on kind of Ryan and Butcher and their relationship here before we move on?
I mean, I like the scenes together. I always kind of have, and I still think there is that that bond, and I don't think that's going to go anywhere. Especially since Butcher seemed really sincere, even when it was breaking it down like, yeah, you're going to go in there and it's a suicide mission, but I'll be right there next to you, kind of shit.
Right, they'll go together. Yeah, that was, and then when he brought him back and they met Terror. Like I always love, I think all the comics fans will always love Terror. He's a very beloved character from the comics. I'm also a big dog guy, so that was cool. We saw multiple times in the episode, like everyone can be mad at everybody, but no one's ever mad at Terror because he's a good guy and he does what he should do. At number three, we talked about Zoe a little bit. Let's talk about her and Stan Edgar. I'm still not wild about Zoe's kind of like face tentacle power. It just doesn't look the greatest the way they come out. I know she took down, I think it was Vicor, the big Viking looking dude in season 2 of Gen V. I'm still not sure how strong she is here. But Jamie G, was there any surprise to you? She went outside. Did you have any inclination that she was meeting Ryan and that they'd be kind of dating? And are you okay with that? Does that seem to make sense?
I guess it does. I mean, kids don't need to necessarily be near each other to connect anymore. It's all electronic and whatnot. But I guess it does. I honestly thought she was going out there. I thought she was going out there to try to like go against Stan and try to get even with Butcher and all that, which she really kind of was, I guess, in a roundabout way. But yeah, I think it worked.
I mean, it makes some sort of sense for Ryan, I think, because he met her in the season 4 premiere, and I'm pretty sure that's basically the only girl of his age he's ever been like formally introduced to. So, at that point, you kind of grasp onto what you know. No offense to Zoe or anything like that. And I mean, I guess we knew that somehow they were going to have to bring this whole Zoe Samir thing around. The truth was being obscured from everyone on multiple levels. We also see it with Maverick in this episode. So there's a lot of this idea that people are going to eventually find out the truth no matter what you do. I will say I cannot believe that Zoe could stow away in the back of that van for multiple hours without anybody noticing. That seems impossible. But outside of that, I thought it was kind of nice that she got to get together with Samir. If they disappear from the show for the rest of time, I don't really care about it. What do you think? Do you like where they went with Zoe here? She wanted to get revenge, but instead of getting revenge, she actually finds her father, who she thought was dead. He thought she was dead. I mean, for the boys, that's almost as good of an ending as someone can get, right? It's just the fact that they destroy the virus on the way out the door.
Yeah. I don't know how necessary that was, but
Well, Zoe could die if the virus was released, so Samir is being extra careful to make sure that after finally knowing that she's alive, now once again he has incentive to make sure that all soups don't die.
I don't hate it. I mean, I kind of like, you're right. For in the boys' world, man, that's probably about as happy of an ending as you can get. So good for them, and maybe we don't see him again, and I'm fine with that too.
What do you think, Jamie? Do this kind of make sense? We knew both these characters were being lied to by multiple people. They had to find out the truth at some point. Are you okay if they kind of wind up being the couple of people who actually get away from this whole thing?
Yeah, yes, I absolutely would be.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if Ryan will necessarily love it or Stan Edgar. And again, Stan Edgar, Giancarlo Esposito is just so good. But I'm kind of wondering here, do you think that he let the boys in initially because he was really worried about Homelander or because he had a bigger plan going? What do you think, Soup? Was this again, like, has he got a bigger plan or was he just like, all right, well, they're here, I'm going to let them in and then we're going to figure it out?
I think a guy like that always has a bigger plan. So
Because
I'm
he
going.
knew everything, right? Like,
Yeah.
other than the fact that he thought he was supposed to be meeting with Marie, he already knew about Butcher developing the virus, about Soldier Boy being immune. Jamie G, what do you think about Stan Edgar here? Do you expect him to be on top of it as he is? Is it stretching a little bit that he still knows all this? What do you think about Stan Edgar here?
First of all, I can't believe he has a bunch of 500 per stick cigars. I mean, that is a massive price point for a cigar.
Oro Blancos. He just misplaced them. And it's a case. It's not even a box. So it's a
Yeah.
case, which is boxes of boxes. And he has like multiple rooms. I mean, who would ever leave that bunker? I mean, that's the one thing that I don't believe is like, man, he could probably survive down there very comfortably with probably him and 100 of his closest, well, maybe not 100, but him and a lot of people for a long time, very comfortably.
I definitely wanted one of those cigars. I like this world with him, and I liked we kind of got his, cunningness, obviously there's a bigger plan there for him, but then also his willingness to just sell out the boys there and lock himself in, even though he ended up being the one that got captured from it. But his willingness to kind of like cut anybody down that gets in his way, no allegiances. He's committed to kind of what he wants to do going forward. So I liked it. What a great character.
I thought the scenes with MM and Stan Edgar were excellent, almost incredible, because MM's always had the thing right. His dad was this one guy just grinding away against the machinery of Vought. And Stan Edgar gives him credit. He's like, dude, that you're one guy, your dad kept, like 20, 30 Ivy League lawyers working weekends, worked them hard. But then Stan Edgar gives that fantastic monologue about how basically you just cannot defeat capitalism. The gears will keep churning. We are all just grist for the mill. That is almost, it's not verbatim, but it's very close to a reference from the guy from Vought, the man from Vought in the comics, who Stan Edgar is partially based on. Soup, how did you like these scenes we got with Stan Edgar and MM? I thought they were great, right? There was a certain respect there, but MM was also like, if you ever actually become, this ends and you become head of Vought again, I'm coming for you. So I thought it was a great amount of respect, but also like a little bit of malice in there too.
Yeah, I mean, although, yeah, I mean, the scene with them together, the one in particular with the cigar and shit, like, I don't know, this the vibe, the communication, the dialogue between the two of them, and just, yeah, I mean, it's top notch, dude. So, yeah, good scenes. As far as not a fight scene or not an action scene, one of the better, one of the better moments of the episode.
JBG, what did you think about Stan Edgar's monologue basically about the power of capitalism here? I mean, that was fairly powerful, right? Like he's just pointing out like just how kind of insignificant we all kind of are. Like it feels like he even himself feels insignificant based against the broader picture of the economy.
And I think it's true. And it rings
It's
true.
scary
And
because it's true.
and it's cold hard facts, man. So
And I like the kind of the little touches here. You mentioned when they find the cigars. I love the idea that Stan Edgar, of course, gets out his very nice cigar cutter, and MM just kind of just rips the end off, just bites it off. I love kind of just that dynamic there, and the fact that they set up. I'm not quite sure that I believe that Stan Edgar would not have fully researched all of this files, materials he has from Frederick Vaught, but it is a nice touch here where MM's like, yo, I can decrypt that. Frenchie's like, yo, we can scan that because in the comics, that's what the boys do a lot. Like MM is a specialist. A lot of what they do is just watch surveillance film for bugs that they have planted, that sort of thing. So I thought it was a really cool kind of callback to the comics there to see that MM and even Frenchie, they were all kind of working, actually doing the work, putting it in to find a way, which eventually, we know leads to Fort Harmony in the next episode. And that leads to number 2 of the 7. Let's talk about the supporting soups. Again, we've been talking about Gen V. We've heard of Maverick since season 1 of The Boys. And Jamie G, what did you think about the idea of Maverick showing up here? Do you think it felt like a little bit too much of a plot device that's supposed to move the plot forward? Because again, Huey killed his dad. There's all the stuff with sons and fathers threatening each other. Or did you just kind of think it was nice to see Maverick here? Or, not see him, depending on which way you want to look at it?
I liked it. I thought it was a nice tie-in with all the father-son stuff going on and killing fathers and everything, dating back to last episode with Soldier Boy. So nice little tie-in there. And the way they used him, I thought was really good too.
Soup, what do you think of the use of Maverick here? Was it too much of a just kind of an avatar to move the Huey plot forward and make him and Annie feel a little bit more guilty? Or do you think it felt earned? Because, we met him a couple of times on Gen V. He was pretty fun. What do you think of Maverick here?
I was fine with it, man. At this point, I don't really want the addition of extra shit just to fill in to make more, because there's a lot going on. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be tied up. But in this case, it seemed to work. It wasn't too much. I like seeing Gen V characters. I'm hoping to see some more of them. I think this might have just been a little bit of tease because some more are coming. But yeah, I mean, and also a cool, entertaining character as well, man. I like the idea. I like that he rocks the glasses, and I mean, I don't know, just his look for not having a look is pretty cool.
Right, Maxim Irony, right? The first character from Gen V we see is a character who we can't actually see.
Right.
So that's very fun irony here. But we also see there's a lot of the manipulation going on in this episode. In Jamie G, why do you think Stan Edgar had him there? Like, he told Maverick that Homelander killed his father, not the boys. Like, what do you think is up with that? Is that something that's going to maybe carry forward as part of, like, Stan Edgar has a big plan here? Or do you think that was just an excuse to get Maverick here so we can do the gag with the body spray?
No, I think it's look, Stan Edgar knows the only way to get what he wants, which is Vought back, is to get rid of Homelander. Doesn't happen without that. So he needs to turn everybody against Homelander so that he can regain control of Vought.
I guess you could maybe complain, like, why does Maverick switch sides so quickly? But the Deep and Translucent were apparently friends, and he knew that. So I guess it makes sense, but it also sets up the presence of the Deep and Cindy and Dognot and Black Noir. And man, Jamie G, we've seen a couple of Cybertrucks in the shows we've been talking about. We talk about It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia on the Night Pod Cometh, and they had a Cybertruck they auctioned off. We talked about the Righteous Gemstones on Romancing the Gemstones. Our guy, Uncle Baby Billy, he owned himself a Cybertruck. But is there anything more perfect, Jamie G, than the Deep driving a Cybertruck?
Dude, no, and the music he's playing in there, this was so perfect. This was the right fit. The only vehicle Deep would have would be a freaking Cybertruck. Yeah, just has to be, man. Has to be. They nailed that.
And he had the vanity plate into Deep, also
Yeah.
absolutely fantastic. Soup, we have called out before on the show that you do look a little bit like Zach McGowan, the actor
Yeah.
who plays Dognot. Now, I was very much hoping we could get you putting your head out of a backseat window there, but that was a lot of fun. But how crazy! Like, we knew Cindy was crazy when we first met her when they went to Sage Grove in season 2. But that sounds like a Cuckoo Bananas backstory for like a C horror movie, right? Like, whatever, the way she talks about it, like, it's all nonsensical, but it actually made sense in my mind.
It's still to this point, I don't know if she was being serious or just fucking around because
Yeah, with the Mork and Mindy gags and everything like that, like, it was so, like, you don't know if she really believes it or not. But again, they've made the character such kind of a cipher and so tough to really kind of figure out what the deal is. Maybe went out a little bit too easy, but that was fun.
Yeah, yeah. And that could have been my favorite quote, but it would have been the entire, it would have been the entire whatever.
Yeah, right. It becomes a scene at that point. It's not just a quote, but it's a monologue.
But it was very, very abstract, very, crazy for lack of a better word, but entertaining for sure.
Right. One of those things you'd be like, oh, I'm sure that they improvised that, but no, I'm sure it was very, very carefully written. And we get a nice callback when that Cybertruck flew by. You get kind of the pan over to Frenchie and Kimiko at the gas station. And Frenchie says that Cybertrucks are the entourage of cars. That is not the first time he is railed on Entourage. I believe back in season 3, episode 3, when they were getting on the plane, he was basically like, Entourage is for basically idiots who know nothing. So that was very, very fun there. And dude, what did you think about Deep? He's not happy to say the least, that he wasn't included. Like, this was Noir's mission. Cindy and Dog, not Homelander, asked them all personally. They brought along Deep basically because he has a car. It's just ironic that his car is a Cybertruck. And Jamie G, what do you think here? Is Deep going to get the result that he wants here when he gasses Noir so he can get the claim of bringing in Stan Edgar for himself? Or do you think that might backfire on the Deep?
Yeah, maybe immediately, but I think the long-term repercussions here are going to be far greater, man. I think this could all blow up in his face here.
What do you think, Soup? Is Noir going to break his silence or do whatever and get a little bit of revenge on the Deep here for gassing him and leaving him, just without the credit? I guess not to die, but without the credit.
I think it's well deserved, I mean, so maybe I'm not sure on that one, but
We're all not sure on the Deep, except for the fact that he is still rocking the Limp Biscuit in more ways than one. Let's move on to number one of the seven, where we just need to discuss the boys themselves. In Jamie G, we've had an interesting kind of plot line with MM so far this season. He started drinking, he's losing it a little bit. Are you worried that the idea that all of a sudden Soldier Boy might actually be unkillable could break MM? I mean, he starts laughing so maniacally that Butcher just gives him a flask like it's a baby getting his bottle here.
Yeah, it was a little bit too crazy for him. Like that was the one he needed to see killed, and now it's like maybe I can't. Yeah, a little starting to worry about him just a little bit. He's drinking a lot here.
Super, you worried about our guy MM, or is this just kind of the calm before the storm?
I'm not so much worried about him. I think he can kind of handle his shit. He might be, I don't think he's going off the rails, but he's teetering. I think he'll level out.
In Soup, there was a hell of a quote here by Huey and Annie, basically about a koosh ball of dicks. Soup, when's the last time you thought about a koosh ball?
Shit, man, it's been I don't even know. I don't even know. It's been a long time.
30 years?
Yeah, we're talking about those things with all the weird stringy.
Yeah, the little
shit.
ball with all the little like rubbery kind of like that. Yeah, they just look. Jamie G, have you thought about a koosh ball since 1992?
No, I haven't, and it took me a minute to even remember what it was. But now I'm like, oh yeah, I remember those.
Yeah, they felt weird. Like they weren't really. They didn't do anything. They were kind of useless. They got a very specific reference. I'm assuming that's a writer joke because when Andy says, "Yeah, we could grow a million dicks like a koosh ball," but with dicks, he always says very specific, and that feels very specifically like a writer joke. Jamie G, what do you think here? Are they pushing it a bit too hard? Like, it feels like we've already been down this road with Huey where he has these regrets. You build up to all the drama with him trying to talk to Maverick, and everyone's like, dude, this is a bad idea. This is a bad idea. Huey's kind of got a Huey, but yet he doesn't actually tell Zoe when he could that Samir is still alive. Like, do you think they're kind of extending this plot past its expiration date, or do you think it makes sense?
A little bit. I think they struggle with what to do with Huey at times, and they kind of. I think maybe a little bit.
I mean, they want him to do the right thing, but if he does the right thing too early, it doesn't fit for the plot.
Right.
What do you think, Soup? Are you okay with them kind of keep putting Huey as kind of the, a little bit of the woe is me guy? Or do you think that they kind of need to make him, kind of like shit or get off the pot a little bit?
Yeah, I do think so with that. I also I kind of knew the entire episode that he was going to eventually cave in and that was going to be a situation that he was going to confess that, because just him being Huey, his mannerisms and everything kind of gave him away right away anyway. Even if I didn't know that, I would have been suspicious if I were Maverick, just because of Huey's reaction.
Everybody was kind of looking at, it was almost too obvious a little bit.
I mean, but I also knew that at a certain point it was gonna, he was gonna end up Huey and out and fucking telling him, and here we are. So, but whatever, it is what it is, man. And I don't think that was entirely, I don't know how necessary that was. Like,
right, because we know that Huey is the canary in the coal mine, right? It does seem like the boys are already coming back to it. The last episode we saw MM like Countess Crow go. Here we see Kamiko basically give the free pass to Samir and Zoe. You know what I mean? Like, don't make them be like us. So I think everyone, despite the fact we started out the season like, all right, we need maximum damage. Like, we got to do whatever it takes. It feels like they're coming off of Team Butcher, going back to Team Huey a little bit. I just don't know if they kind of need to step on it in that way. And Jamie G, I think we all love Frenchie in Kamiko, but it feels like we're seeing the first signs of maybe a little bit of trouble in paradise here. Kamiko wants kids. Frenchie wants to be a DJ in Berlin. What do you think of this?
I like this scene a lot because the way he responded, and you can kind of see her. She's gotten so good at face acting over the years. You can kind of see her disappointment, but then him realize that it disappointed her. And I think Frenchie loves her so much he'll basically do anything he's got to do to make her happy.
Soup, do you think they leaned a little bit too heavy into the Kamiko likes porn aspect here? Or do you think the juice was worth the squeeze on that one?
You know what? I'm okay with it. I think it was right there. It leaned into it, but it also kind of like, it gained a little bit more understanding of her character, even if it isn't pornographic aspect. So, you like porn, who doesn't, but the fact that it was like, she learned how to, or she, learned how to talk by watching like TikTok and shit like that, I'm not surprised that she fell into watching a lot of porn as well, so good for her.
That makes sense. I do like the idea that the cunnilingus joke, like Stan Edgar just doesn't get it, and that feels like a reverse of the joke from last season where he wanted to infect the sheep with the virus so that the other animals could get it. And Frenchie's like, dude, this man is in no condition to fuck a sheep. So I feel like
Yeah.
that was like that joke
Yeah.
inverted. I feel like that was very specific, so I really did enjoy that. Even Huey just telling Kamiko like maybe lay off the porn a little bit. I think really did a good job for me. And then we move into the final fight of it all. For what it's worth, Annie has already faced Dognot in Gen V, and then Cindy at the very, very end of the previous season. I love how they took Dognot down, but he lived. I just love the character here. He
Yeah.
can't be defeated except by that body spray. JBG, we've talked about like we're not sure if a regular person could take down a soup, but he already had specified like, yo, this body spray, kind of my kryptonite here. So that was kind of cool when MM just sprays him with it, right?
Oh yeah, dude. I thought it was they set it up pretty well throughout the whole episode with this body spray, and then, I thought this is the perfect moment for it. So yeah, great job by the show there.
Soup, I mean, just because he looks like you doesn't mean you have to be happy. But I kind of like that Dognot is sticking around here. You know what I mean? He's that dude. He gets knocked down, but he gets up again. So he might get the Chumbawamba Award for the episode if we were giving one of those out. And I'm not necessarily the biggest fan. Jamie G, you talked about you don't love the big brain soups. I'm not a huge fan of the fighting the invisible man thing, but I thought they did a pretty decent job at here, Soup. What'd you think of this fight between Huey and Maverick? It's a little bit skeptical. Like, can Huey keep surviving fighting Soups and getting thrown into walls every week? But I thought for the most part, they did a good enough job of it considering it's an invisible man fight where one dude has superpowers, one dude doesn't. What'd you think of this one?
Yeah, I'm with you on the whole, like, Huey's got to understand they probably can't keep fighting Soups. Like, once and getting away is lucky as fuck, eventually it's not going to end up that way. So, I don't know, but I mean, I thought the scene was great, but yeah, when you look at it like that, it's like, even as a viewer, like, how long are we going to be able to believe that he's going to keep surviving this kind of shit?
Right, just swinging a golf club away, trying to get lucky.
Yeah, I totally agree. I will say though that not all soups are created equal, right? Like not all soups are as strong as Homelander, right? I mean, Maverick's only superpower is he's
Well,
invincible.
if you remember though, his dad had the diamond skin that made him translucent, and so the only way they could kill him was to stick a grenade up his ass.
Right.
So again, maybe a little bit inconsistent. I don't really mind it that much, but on the other hand, what did you think, Jamie G? Was it too much when they did the fake out here, where it looks like maybe Cindy killed Huey, but it winds up being Maverick? Were you okay with that, or do you think that was a little bit like veering into Walking Dead territory, maybe?
I just don't know how and why. Why would he kill his own? I mean, Huey was sitting right there. Why would he kill the soup? I just this is a dude who has control over that. We've seen him use it. They set it up in episode one. He was using it, right? He used it on the girl that Huey in front of Huey and everything. Like so we know that So why would he do that? I don't. This is one of my biggest issues with this episode. That just didn't make sense for me.
The only thing I can say is it's kind of a, remember Newman, it was a line of sight thing if you covered her eyes. Maybe because he was invisible and just in that area, Huey fell down at the last second or something like that, but it felt a little thin to me. But what do you think? So did they actually suck you in here? Did you ever for a second think that Huey was dead? Or did you always kind of feel like they were going to do a little bit of a cop out here?
Yeah, I didn't think it was quite to that point. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. I wouldn't have been totally shocked if it would have worked out that way, but I felt like I also think it would have been a little bit too early in the season for that, but maybe not. I don't know, but yeah, I did think for a moment that it could have went that way, but wasn't surprised that it didn't.
I guess the fact that we feel that it could have happened even for a second means that they've done their job and set the stakes up in such a way that, while
Yeah.
we don't think it's necessarily likely, there is a chance that we could lose a main character unexpectedly. And I guess in it's a kind of twisted way, that's what I'm looking for here. I want there to be a certain level of unpredictability in the final episode. I'm not necessarily thrilled that that was it for Cindy. When we met her at Sage Grove, it seemed like super powerful soup. Eric Kripke, the producers, kind of teased it out, so maybe not ultimately as big of an impact as I would have expected, but it does set the stage for the absolute final act here, where Annie's just like, I can't even handle this. She flies away. MM kind of is reassuming the control role of the boys. He sits back, he lights up that cigar. The only complaint I have, why did they go back to the joint in Erie? Like, there's no Zoe, there's no Stan Edgar. Why are they not just using that bunker? Jamie G, does that not make, like, why wouldn't they just stay in that bunker?
Well, because I mean, Homelander knows where it is. He could always come back again,
But
and
he can't find them at that random high school in Erie or something like that. That feels a little thin. At least in terms of resources, strip that joint. I mean, MM took a couple cigars at least.
he did, which I would have too.
I mean, I think everybody would have, but
Yeah, I think just knowing that, Homelander's they got Stan Edgar, like they just regrouping there, trying to make a plan for what to do next, kind of thing.
I guess they'd have to, find the old security code to change the new security code in the bunker. But they opened the door, so it wasn't crushed. They maybe could have survived in there. I'm just saying there was a lot of good stuff in there that Stan Edgar, he didn't even know what he had.
I think we are ready to officially kick off our award tour here for this episode titled Everyone You Sons of Bitches. We knew the bounty count was going to be high this season, and we have not been disappointed. So, for our first stop on the award tour, we're honoring The Departed.
His soul and the souls of all the faithful departed.
What was his name? The Departed.
We have two characters to honor this episode. First up, we have Maverick. A shout out Maverick, who was first mentioned / shown in season 1 of The Boys. Appeared in the best way a translucent guy can appear in the both seasons of the Gen V. So shout out Maverick here. Didn't expect to be pouring one out for him here, but if he had to go, I guess it could have been certainly a more inconspicuous way. He got a good death. That's all you can ask for. And then we have Cindy. I'm not sure if she had as quality of a death. Again, remember back in season 2, even Lamplighter being terrified of her. Thought maybe there'd be a little bit more to work with here, but at the end of the day, seeing Starlight snap her neck was fairly satisfying. So shout out to The Departed here, Maverick and Cindy. Pour one out for you. Won't see you again, but nice knowing you.
First up here, we got our weekly edition of Soup on Soundtracks.
Well, soundtrack this week was there were a few in there. Wasn't anything super notable. I did like the Bob Dylan joint. Nice to get a little bit of Dylan in the mix towards the end of the episode there on the way out of the episode. We had a Russian song going on, which was
it took me a
cool.
minute. That was Bad Reputation by Joan Jett. It
was a cover
I could hear the beat, but yeah, it was Bad Reputation by Joan Jett.
And of course the Limp Bizkit joint, which perfectly fits the deep douchiness of Deep added to his vehicle of choice, and just in straight up Deep fashion, cranking some some Limp Biz, dude, like in that vehicle, especially, it just kind of all fell right into place. A good placement with the tunes there, man.
JBG, is there any douchier of a song that Deep could have bumped in his Cybertruck?
Honestly, I don't think so. I mean, you could do like the Night at the Roxbury joint, which would have been pretty funny, but you want to give him a little, like, he thinks he's hardcore here, bumping the Fred Durst and the Limp Bizkit, which is even funnier just having it that. So I think it's the perfect choice here.
Yeah, it is pretty much maximum douchiness, especially whatever they've done after the fact. But yeah, late '90s there, that Fred Durst, that Limp Bizkit, that's about as douchey as it gets. And that was "In My Time of Dying" by Bob Dylan that we went out on. This is not a show that's generally gone to the classic rock well very often, so I thought that was a very nice choice there. And Jamie G, here's a little bit of a fun one here. Kamiko said, like, when he was anticipating, Kamiko did not want kids. Frenchie's like, yo, if I could do anything, I go to Berlin and be a DJ. Do you buy like Frenchie as a DJ, and would he be wearing the goggles from the comics and everything? What do you think?
I could totally see him spinning records and being a DJ, dude. Absolutely, I could see him. And I could see him making up like some crazy party drug and passing it out at all his shows and everything too. That's right up Frenchie's alleyway there.
I
Yeah, I
think you
think
might be onto something with the party drug. Soup, if Frenchie was a DJ, what would his DJ name be?
that's a good one. Damn, man, I don't
DJ
know.
Bonjour, dude.
DJ ho 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 croissant. I don't know. I don't know. Um, but I do think he'd be a great DJ. Either way, I mean, there's a bunch of names he could go with, and I don't think DJ Frenchie would be it. But that would work. But I think he'd be good at it, dude. I think he'd be real solid DJ, man. Maybe better than TS.
DJ Salad Toss, I'm going with. I remember back in season 3 where he yelled out of the guy like, "Oh, you're just mad because your wife had never slept with a man who tossed a salad or whatever." Like,
How about DJ Sweet Vagine?
oh, that's sweet and sour Vagine. Sweet and sour Vagine.
Next up, we've got our alternate episode titles. The Boys usually pulls from the comics as episode titles, and Magnum Mills is our comic guy in Compound B. So, Mills, what is every one of you sons of bitches referencing, and what alts do you have for us this week?
This is a very clear reference to the final episode, issue 6. This is a very clear reference to the final issue, issue 6 of the 6-issue limited series, Butcher, Baker, Candlestick Maker. This is more or less the Billy Butcher origin story, I believe, as told to Wee Huey by Mallory in the books in terms of the narrative device. But we were curious coming into this one. We thought maybe this would give us more Butcher backstory. It did not, but I think there are still some fun alts here. Up top, we're going to go with the funnest one, A Million Kooshball Dicks. If I saw this episode as a child of the 90s, there's no way I wouldn't be tuning in. Next up, we have The Chicken or the Egg. This feels like you have a lot of father-son stuff. Is it nature, nurture? Which way is it going? Is it the chicken or the egg? And then we got to work in some of the virus stuff and some of the things that happens here. So how about lab results? It feels like this is an episode where you feel like everything is getting mixed up in the lab and you're not sure what's coming out. And when you're not sure what's coming out, you want to refer to the income statement, to the balance sheet, to the EBITDA, and you got profit and loss. So that's our next episode title, the alt here, Profit and Loss. But finally, my personal favorite, and no, it is not the female rapper that Dre ditched. I'm going with The Truth Hurts because there are a lot of truth bombs dropped in this episode, and I think they all land in a dramatic fashion. So those are the 5 alternate episode titles: A Million Kooshball Dicks, The Chicken or the Egg, Lab Results, Profit and Loss, The Truth Hurts. Jamie G, do you have a preference between those 5?
I gotta go A Million Kooshball Dicks. I mean, it's just too good.
Soup, what do you think? A Million Kooshball Dicks, Chicken or the Egg, Lab Results, Profit and Loss, Truth Hurts. Are you going Kooshball, or are you going to go deeper than that?
Honestly, Truth Hurts is a really good one, but I like the chicken or the egg.
It does seem apt in this episode because we're really not sure where it starts and where it
Two-thirds is
begins.
very fitting. And the dicks on the koosh ball is, the fucking hilarious. But I like chicken or egg for this one.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm into that level of fan fiction with the million kooshball dicks. So if you're drawing those, you could probably keep them to yourself. It is time to look fly with some fashion by Frenchie. Usually we like to focus on the various music t-shirts. Not as much of that so far this season, but we do have some good Frenchie moments. I don't know that the characters have had a lot of time to make changes since the previous episode, but Jamie G is going to highlight the best fashion as coming from the mouth of Frenchie from season 5, episode 3.
Got a couple of them here. We're going to start off with Maverick here. We mentioned he's invisible. So how do they make him somebody, right? Well, he has his custom hat and glasses, which we've seen in Gen V, but this time he's wearing the Invisible Force t-shirt. Now, this is kind of cool. It's a little bit much because it's a shirt from his dad's movie. So not totally sure how I feel about that. It's kind of, I guess it works because of the whole, like, I'm avenging my dad's death thing. Pretty cool. I would like to see Invisible Force too. Frenchie. Frenchie is still rocking the same polo that he did the previous episode. Polo sweater. It's very cool. I would wear this. I really like it. I think it goes very well with what Stan Edgar's wearing here with the zip, the button up over vest there. The white on black looks very good. Would be very good in the winter or in the fall. So definitely like those. Huey though, we got to do something with Huey. Huey's just this jacket's just got to go, dude. I don't know what they're doing with this thing. The fake fur trim here, it's just pretty bad. And then he's in this denim shirt. What the hell's going on with the shoulders here in this denim shirt? I don't know, man. And I don't know many guys that could actually pull this out, but I guess, you know what? Huey's the one that's dating Starlight, not your boy. So good job, Huey. And it's nice to see Butcher bringing back one of his middle-aged dad on a cruise shirts. And this is a booze cruise shirt. A lot going on here. It would be something I'd almost see like Ricky and Trailer Park Boys wearing. Pretty cool here. And last but certainly not least, we got to give it up to our guy, MM. If you don't have access to your Wu-Tang Clan t-shirt or your Wu wear, he just dressed like Method Man here on his way to a recording sesh for Wu-Tang Forever. You gotta love it, dude. He looks good here, lighting the stogie, got the hat. He's just got style, man. Shout out MM. Things are getting serious because next on the award tour, we've got our favorite quotes from every one of you sons of bitches.
There are so many good options here, Jamie G. But I'm going to go with this exchange between Ryan and Butcher.
Maybe I should just put you out of your misery.
You could. But you won't.
And why is that?
Because we both love the same woman. And we both hate the same cunt.
I mean, that's it, right? I mean, like, it's not necessarily that they're on the same team, but the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Yeah, I think he's absolutely right here. He's got a great way of saying it, like everything he says, but like, yeah, he's right. We both love the same woman. We both hate the same guy, right? And so I think that definitely tracks.
Indecent follow-up because Ryan told Zoe that he wasn't really sure. Like, he thought they could take out Butcher, but he wasn't sure. And here Butcher kind of seems convinced that Ryan can take him out. So again, we'll see if kind of that consistency can continue going forward. How about yourself, Jamie G? Favorite quote here from every one of you sons of bitches?
There were so many good ones. It's really unbelievable how many great quote-worthy things are here. But I'm going to go with Huey with the whole with the whole body spray thing here. I thought it was so great the way he's like,
It smells in here.
You're right. It smells like an Abercrombie got fucked by a 7-Eleven while Arby's jerked off in the corner.
that's just such a vivid description, dude. It just made me, I could smell that. And I was like, oh, that's a horrible smell. Having been in all three of those places before. Then Maverick with the classic, it's Vibro Mango, Thunder Body Spray. Yeah, dude, it's hilarious here. Great description.
I don't know if the Abercrombie reference is better or just the idea that Arby's is off in the dark corner just jerking off. I mean, like, Arby's get shit on quite a bit these days. They have the beefs, but I'm not sure what else they have. And Soup, how about yourself? Your favorite quote from season 5, episode 3, every one of you sons of bitches.
many, many, many good ones in this episode. A lot of them by Soldier Boy. So I'm going with one of his. Short and sweet.
Help me find everyone.
I'd rather fist myself with a handful of razors.
You know, I mean, he had a lot of good ones, and that is with a handful of razors, not blades, but whatever, you know, same thing, kind of. I'd rather fist myself with a handful of razors. Yeah, you don't really, I mean, you don't see a whole lot of people saying something like that. So I'm going with that one, man, in classic Soldier Boy fashion. It's a one of his many, many good quotes out of this episode.
He's becoming a classic.
That was pretty wild there, and very graphic. The award tour rolls on, and we're about to highlight our favorite and or craziest moments here. We call these our double dams.
Double down.
So I'm going, dude. I'm going right away here, man. There's a couple I could have chose from, man, and I'm pretty sure nobody else is going to pick this one. And I'm saying right at the first scene, like when Ryan's just ripping those Russian dudes apart, and you don't know who it is, and all of a sudden the reveal of him, and just the way he was, just right there, I was like, damn, right away. So I knew this episode was going to be a banger even before that, but that just set the tone for the episode right there. So normally a double damn a moment would not happen right away in the first opening scene, but in this case, this week it did.
Just because he was munching on those the little firecracker hot sticks there, and rocking to the Russian Joan Jett. Jamie G, how about yourself? What's the greatest love in history? What are you taking a double damn on here?
I'm gonna actually go. I was gonna go with kind of like when the boys are in the basement and they realize that or in the bunker and they realize that translucent switched sides because it was like, oh shit, now they're screwed, right? As they got the code and came down. But I'm actually gonna go with that scene with Homelander versus Ryan. Just the way he kind of like draws back and just continues to beat him. It was kind of like, damn, dude. Um, yeah, I'm gonna go with the Homelander beating the crap out of Ryan.
That leaves me with two, and honestly, they're both Homelander moments. You have Homelander, either the reveal of him in the milk bath or the scene with him with Stillwell as Jesus. Both are great. I gotta go with the Stillwell as Jesus scene though, because that was kind of like you knew maybe they were gonna work it in somehow, but that was so over the top, like skinning children in front of their parents and ripping babies from their mother's wombs, and Homelander just embracing it all and realizing that it's all in his head. Gotta go with that one. But I love that there were that many options to choose from in this episode.
Me too, man. It is time to hand out our individual awards here, beginning with our very special supporting players. These are our favorite characters from the episode who are not in the main cast. Soup, so far we've gone with Love Sausage and Rock Hard. Who's taking it home this week?
I got it. It was a toss up again, but I am going with Stan Edgar on this one.
So far, I've gone basically the same way here with Love Sausage and Rock Hard. Soup, I hate to do it, but I'm going the same way again. I'm going Stan Edgar too. I just
I feel
thought
like
his
there were more options this week, but I still like that. But you're right.
yeah,
It's hard not to. Yeah.
yeah, I got to go Stan Edgar.
You like who you like, and it's hard not to like Giancarlo Esposito. So far, I've gone with the Worm in episode 1 and Rock Hard in episode 2. I'm going to swerve here slightly. Give me Madeline Stillwell. I'm so excited to see Elizabeth Shue here, and she was great, and she's feeding into Homelander psychosis. And I'm not sure if we are going to get another scene with her here. Ryan is not eligible here. He's in the main cast, but Stan Edgar and Dognot were both under consideration for me. But give me Madeline Stillwell here. So I think it is ultimately your guy, Stan Edgar, taking it down. But I think Stillwell's doing a good job bringing up the rear.
Now that we've acknowledged our very special supporting players, it is time to hear it for the boy or girl, our episode MVPs. Soup, so far you've gone with A-Train and MM. Who's taking home the MVP hardware for every one of you sons of bitches?
If you had told me before the season started that I would pick this person as an MVP for one of the episodes, I would probably not believe you. But I'm going with Soldier Boy, man. It's hard not to. He was just, he's been in some good episodes and played some good, and had some good moments. But this episode is, I feel like his best episode of the since he's been on the show. So he did he's the MVP of this episode, hands down.
That's your boy.
Yeah, I really like that. So far this season, I've gone with Butcher and Frenchie. just to do something different here, I'm going to go with Ryan. I like the fact that they brought him back the way they did. Now he's got me wondering as a viewer what's going to happen with him. Is he going to go Team Butcher? Is he going to go Team Huey? Is he going to just run away and not be what we think he is? They just set this up basically. So much of the story, overarching story, revolves around Ryan. I like kind of getting him back in the mix here, having him take that beating. I want to see what comes of it. So I'm going Ryan.
Love that. Thus far, I've gone with A Train and Frenchie, and I'm also going to go with Soldier Boy here. My honorable mentions were Homelander and Ryan, but yeah, dude, Soldier Boy, just nuggets of gold here. And they made a choice. They could have killed him off. People probably would have bought into that, but they brought him back. So they got to make it worthwhile. And I think thus far, they have totally justified keeping him alive. I'm very interested. Like, I wasn't sure if I was cool with Soldier Boy maybe being Endgame here, right up there with Homelander. Now I think I am. I'm very excited to see where they go with him. So we definitely have a little bit of consensus here. We have two Soldier Boys, but nothing wrong with Ryan here either.
Ryan was a solid runner-up for me too, man. So
same.
It is the end of the line for the award tour, and for the final stop, we have our episode grades. We grade each episode of The Boys on a scale of 0 to 100 Vought coins. Magnum Mills, how many Vought coins can you spare for this episode, titled Every One of You Sons of Bitches?
Thus far, I have given 94 and 89 Vought coin. I'm going with 90 Vought coin here. This feels like not quite as good as the premiere, but maybe a slight step up over the second episode. So I'm going 90 Vought coin. Jamie G, thus far, you've been very consistent. 93, 93. Are you going 93 for a third time and taking home your triplicate patch, or are you changing it up here?
I'm going to step it up. I'm going 94 Vought coins here. I don't know that it's necessarily better than the premiere, but I think the way it was done and the position of it here at episode 3, what it set up, how effective it was setting up what's going to be the rest of the season, elevates it for me. Some of the lines in here were just unbelievable. I'm going 94 Vought coins.
That's fair. You're certainly living within your range, from a poker standpoint, at least.
Yes, it's within my range. Soup, you've been pretty liberal with your Vought coins so far, giving 98 coins to episode 1 and 93 to episode 2. How many can you spare for episode 3?
Well, you know what, man? I not that I think this was a poor episode, because it was absolutely phenomenal. I'm going to drop it a little bit just as far as boys' standards goes, because I know this is kind of like a lot of setup and and building for things going forward. It was a great episode, but I'm sticking with a solid 91, which is also a very, very good score.
Nothing wrong with that. That keeps us right in a very solid range here. You average together, that's a 92, but that's very specific. Let's be a little bit more opaque, a little bit deeper than that, Ned. Talk about a little Soup style. Soup, I only have one question for you. If this episode of The Boys was a soup, what kind of soup would it be?
I was thinking long and hard about this, man, because I could, what kind of soup is this going to be, man? The ingredients in this episode, there's a lot of V, a lot of V. So, the only thing I'm sticking with here, the first thing that pops in my mind, vichyssoise. So if episode 3 was a soup, it would be vichyssoise.
The last order of business here is to look up the future with our predictions and theories. Just so you know, we're getting even deeper into spoiler territory here. There's no teaser for the next episode, but we could be discussing some spoilers from the comics. If you want to avoid that, thanks for checking out this episode of Compound B, and we'll see you next week. If you're ready to ride with us, Magnum Mills, hit us with what's up next on The Boys.
The title of the next episode is Though the Heavens Fall. Don't know the director, but the writer is Jeff All. This is his third overall written by credit on The Boys, second overall solo written by credit. This is a comics reference to issue 85 of The Boys. This is a comics reference to episode 58 of The Boys, and it's also a pretty common maximum in the world of the legal system, Jamie G. You might understand this. Let justice be done. though the heavens may fall, fiat justitia ruat calcem. It basically just means that justice must be realized no matter the consequences, even if upholding the law results in more harm than possibly letting it go does. And this is a phrase we actually see show up on the statue of the Seven at the base of Bot Tower. As far as overall predictions, let's start out light here. Soup, what do you think? Zamir and Zoe. Let's start out a little bit light here. Soup, what do you think? Samir and Zoe, will we see them again, or are they just going to kind of walk off into their own little happy ending?
I'm gonna go with we don't.
Jamie G, what do you think? Samir and Zoe, seeing them again or no?
I'm gonna also say we don't.
I will say maybe we see Zoe on a future season of Gen V, but that would be it. So that's where I'm going with. How about Madeline Stillwell? Jamie G, right back to you. Will we see or hear from her again, even if it is possibly a part of a vision or something else?
Mills, one more time. Yep,
Soup,
we will.
You sticking with that?
Yes.
I think I think we do, and I think it'll be in, what my theory is, we see her again in a vision in Homelander's final moments, if it happens like that.
Oh, nice. Maybe he's getting a little final milk there. That Soup, right back at you. If Frenchie Kamiko survive the show, what do you think's more likely? They go the route of Kamiko with the two kids and the dog, or do they go the Frenchie route with the DJ in Berlin thing?
I think they meet in the middle and do a little bit of both. Frenchie can be a DJ, and they can have
He's DJing with the baby and the sling on him or whatever. What do you think, Jamie? Do you like DJ Frenchie with the baby on the swing and the sling there?
I think they do whatever. I think they take Kamiko's route there.
How about Ryan? Which way do you think he goes up next? Do you think he teams up with Butcher? Does he team up with Homelander? Does he try to take a different way forward? What do you think, Jamie G? Where are they going with Ryan from here?
I think that his rematch with Homelander is coming, whether it's involving the virus or not, and whether it's with teaming up with Butcher or not. There's a couple different ways they can do it, but there will be another round of them too, and this time I think it's going to be in the air, flying.
Soup, anything else for Ryan here? Like, whose side do you think he comes down on? Do you think he tries to create his own kind of like third way, not Butcher or Homelander? What do you think?
At this point, I would think there'd be no way he'd be on Homelander's side after that. I mean, I would hope not anyway. That would take some serious doing on Homelander's part. But Butcher was there at the end, that last scene that we saw with them two together. He's the one that might get him out of there and kind of like bring him back to nurse him back to health, so to speak. So if anything, I think he would maybe lean towards that. But what I'm really thinking is he just kind of goes rogue, and does his own thing.
See, I'm not saying rogue. I'm saying team Ryan up with the Gen V characters, right?
I
Because
like
he
that.
seems like he
Yeah,
would fit
I love that,
perfectly
actually.
in with them, kind of with their vibe. And we're not sure exactly like how powerful he is. Sam's supposed to be pretty powerful. They have a mind person. They have Marie Moreau can maybe even rip the V out of his blood if they have to as a failsafe or something like that. So I would like the usage of Ryan. I think that the actor has done a good job, especially because he's had to age up pretty quickly from a small child who accidentally killed his mom to a guy who could conceivably have a beer with Billy Butcher and contemplate giving his life to save the world. So I think they've done a really good job with that. I am a little bit curious, Jamie G. We're not sure exactly where Butcher's been getting his money from. And we, at the beginning of the episode, learned that Ryan was at what used to be a CIA black site. Do you think there's any chance that it's somebody behind the scenes, both kind of like financing / manipulating both Butcher and Ryan to the ends? And if that's the case, do you think it's Sage?
Sage would make the most sense. For a minute, I thought maybe Stan Edgar, but I don't believe so now. So yeah, I think if it's gonna be that, it's gonna be Sage.
What do you think, Soup? Is this actually Sage who is, even though they don't know it, maybe assisting Butcher and Ryan to her old ends to maybe try to push Homelander out?
Yeah, if anybody's behind it, it would have to be Sage. I think at this point, or with help from others. But If that, it seems like it could be going in that direction, so I would not be surprised if that were the case. But yeah, it would definitely take her and some people.
Well, if you take that a step further, I think it's her with the O father, right, Jamie G? I mean, we saw that a little bit, with what his potential powers could be. All these things Homelander are seeing. Maybe it makes sense that Ashley is, there is a potential fill-in for the president. So Sage is trying to tip Homeland over, make Butcher and everybody else team up, take Homelander out, and then she can just live over the rubble.
Yes. I mean, she's basically using him to do all the hard part, and then she can figure out a way to kind of like end him and have everything, you know? I mean, she's been very unclear about what her motive is really since they introduced her to the show.
Yeah, in the old father, they haven't made it clear, but let's be honest here. There's no other soup we could easily attribute Homelander's psychosis to, except I guess maybe Kate from Gen V. That's probably it, right, Jamie G? I mean, other than that, it
Yeah.
almost has to be the old father. So it's Kate or him or nothing.
Yeah, Dio Father, a little disappointed his power isn't giving people O faces. He is the O Father, but yeah, I definitely think you're right on that one.
You act like he can't just as a version of that give people the O faces. Of course he can. It's just a matter. Is it the Andrew Dice Clay O face or the Sopranos O face? I mean,
Oh,
both have O's, but both are excellent. Jamie G, how about Stan Edgar? Giancarlo Esposito, one of my favorites. He is playing kind of a combination of characters for the comics, so I'm not sure where he ends up. Do you think Stan Edgar dies next episode? Does he make it through the series? Does he become the head of Vought again? Where do you think Stan Edgar's going?
I my heart says he lives, man, and the heart wants what the heart wants. I just think he has too much value here. And he's slippery, dude. Like he should have been done died, seasons ago. So I think he finds a way here.
Do you think it is more likely than not that Stan Edgar is part of Sage's plan, whether he knows it or not?
I mean, look, Sage doesn't want to run Vought. Sage doesn't want to be the face for anything, right? So like being able to have people she can control and manipulate and have leverage on is, I think, extremely valuable to her.
What do you think, Soup? Is there a chance that Stan Edgar is actually exactly where he wants to be?
I think that he could be. It depends on his situation currently with between him and Homelander. Like if it's you find me V1 and I'll let you live kind of shit, which seems like could possibly be the case. It seems almost likely that that's what's going to happen. And if not, if that doesn't happen, it's let's say there is no V1, like everybody thinks, like, and there might not be, but for this show, the way it's going, I would think there would have to be. Can you recreate it? I don't know, because then that would be a whole new aspect of like, what do? You get Samir to do it, or we might, we're probably going to see him again. So I don't know where they're going with this whole thing, but as far as Stan Edgar's, status on the show, I think he could be where he wants to be, but it could also go the other way too.
I would say I think he's where he wants to be, but it's a coin flip. Like he
Yeah,
got himself there, but he understands like then he's got to get lucky. You know what I mean? 'Cause that's how like all great things are. You could do the smartest thing ever, but at a certain point you got to get a little bit lucky. So I think he's trying to hope that everything kind of works out the way he thinks it's going to work out and he wins that coin flip. But he's willing to try because otherwise he would have just stayed in that damn bunker, I think, for the most part. Hey, Jamie G, what do you think happens with OG Ashley here? We've had it both ways. Like she's vice president now. You think it's more likely that she becomes president, dies, or becomes head of Vought at the end?
Ha. Um, I gotta go president.
That's fair. Soup, what do you think? OG Ashley, we've talked about her a lot. President, head of Vought, or other.
We didn't get much out of her this episode, so I kind of didn't really, she was on the back burner a little bit for me, so I haven't really thought about it. But, at this point, I'm saying, I don't know, president seems the most likely. I think dead seems the second most likely.
Fair enough. Let's get into a big one. Jamie G, I thought it was pretty obvious going into the season that Soldier Boy would probably check out before Homelander. But do you think there's a chance now that Soldier Boy ultimately maybe outlives Homelander or takes him out? Like, what do you think the dynamic is going to be between these two ultimately?
Yeah, I mean, I think Soldier Boy's made his intentions very clear. You're gonna die. I'm gonna outlive you, and I'll reclaim my spot. I don't care how long it takes. You're gonna age because you're pathetic, you're weak, and I'm not going to. And that end of the day, I mean, he's made that very clear.
Oh, so you do think maybe Soldier Boy just kind of tries to stay out of the way and let Homelander basically just like, fall into his own traps, basically?
He could. I mean, I don't think he needs to kill him because as long as Homelander doesn't get V1, Homelander's gonna eventually die of old age.
Interesting. Soup, where do you think Soldier Boy ends up aligned? Does he align with Homelander, Butcher, the boys, or just on his own side? And maybe, like Jamie G said, he just kind of rides it out and be like, yo, I'm going to survive all y'all.
Yeah, I don't know, man. This thing could come down to a Soldier Boy and Homelander battle. It could come down to a Ryan Homelander battle. And as most people think, it could come down to a Butcher and Homelander battle. Either one of those options is fucking great. As far as Soldier Boy goes, man, I don't know. I think he is like the way his character has developed in the 3 episodes of this season. I feel like he might be the future of the Seven, and that might be a good thing because like he's become way less of a he's become a more likable character for me and a more reasonable or logical leader of the Seven, far more so than Homelander is.
Yeah, certainly comparatively to Homelander, right? I mean,
So
at least he's not insane. Like, he just is like he's kind of an asshole compared to like, a megalomaniac or something like that, maybe.
yeah, and he also has, I don't want to say the experience because like he had his times where he wasn't present or frozen or whatever the fuck, but he's been around since what the
Yeah, he played nice
50s.
for like 30 years with
So I
the
mean,
country, so yeah.
I think that he could be like the best leader for something like that, So I would actually vote that if that were if it were up for that.
I'm actually okay if they somehow like bypassed Homelander as the final villain and went to Soldier Boy, maybe, because I think ultimately for me, killing Homelander, I'm sure, would be cathartic, but I think the best end for him would be him depowered, stuck as a human and just like living
Yeah.
in jail or whatever with no powers, is weak and soft as ever. What do you think, Jamie G? Would you rather see Homelander die or live as just a regular human, just subject to all the whims of, all the aging and everything we hate?
Homelander without power, locked in a mental institution would be, I think, the most fitting way for him. Yes, it would be fine and fun to see him die, but like I think that's more. It's kind of like it's like how did you want, all right, minor Game of Thrones spoiler here, but like Cersei, you wanted to. Cersei was a horrible character. It's like you dreamed of how she might go. Well, same thing with Homelander here, and it's like how do you want Homelander to go? I think it's stripped of his power, in a padded room, crying at the wall.
I mean, what if it was even darker? Like he just gets put into regular jail and he just gets shanked by some dude, like
Yeah.
like style
I,
or something
I
like
don't.
that.
Yeah. I mean, I'd rather have him suffer. I guess is
Yes,
better
I
than
think,
do
but the
that.
suffering would be the key, right? Because he's already suffering mentally, but like forcing him to be human, the one thing he hates, and acknowledging that part of himself, I think would be more interesting than killing him. So, if Homelander dies, do you think it's has anything to do with the virus or not? Like, do you think the virus ultimately actually matters to the outcome of the Homelander plot?
I don't. I think at this point the virus is going to be something that's kind of sought after, but I don't think it's going to be endgame. If the show ends where they try and wipe it, where like most or all soups are wiped out, then maybe that's what happens, and that would be more of like more of like 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 any other virus movie where like end of the world kind of shit, but it would be
Right,
for
a huge inciting event here, like a globally moving
but
event.
yeah,
But
I think a turn of events. I think it's going to be there. I think it's going to be a thing, but I don't think that's going to be the cause of it. I think it's going to be something else, and I think it's going to involve somebody else or multiple people. And I feel like
yeah, it
we've
would
already
still feel
talked
kind of
about.
cheap. I know they've set up the virus, but it would still feel a little bit cheap, right? What do you think,
Yeah,
Jamie G? Like,
but
at this point, like, if the virus took out Homelander, are you okay with that, or would you rather maybe go a different route?
Yeah, I think it's kind of run its course. I mean, if that's what they do, it's what they do. But like, I think it's kind of like that was the tease to like something else, and now it's that option's kind of dead. They got to regroup and figure out what to do.
I think the virus option is kind of dead at this point, being that, what happened this past episode. I think the focus now is more on the V1 thing and trying to see if that's still available or if it can be recreated and how to stop that or get to it first. It might be a race to, get to, obviously they're in a race to get to it first now. And I feel like we talked about the Homelander thing already, like maybe last week or maybe in the teaser or something.
Well, you're going to keep talking about it until
Well,
until
no,
the
not
end of it
I'm
a
saying
little bit. So.
with his demise or whatever, and how it would be more, satisfying to see him stripped of powers and live out as a human. But the only thing I disagree with is having him locked up. Put him out into the wild and let him
Yeah,
live.
that's what I mean. Or even, in just regular prison population, like in the general population, not in some. But we also saw the shot in the trailer of him sitting in the Oval Office, kind of drenched in blood. So we know it's going a certain way. And I don't want to put too much on it, but that is kind of maybe a little thing you get from the comics. But how about Black Noir? There have been a lot of theories here. Nothing else. He has to be absolutely pissed off in the deep. Jamie G, do you think we're going to get just a continuation of what we saw in the previous season, the actor who was playing Black Noir 2, or do you think it could be more complex than that?
I hope it is. I don't know that it will be. There's so much going on here and to figure out. I don't know that they add a wrinkle to a character like that. That's kind of like, eh. I don't think there will be. It would be cool, but I don't think there will be.
Fair enough, but they did note in the episode that Noir has been disappearing every afternoons randomly to do something else. I think there could be some setup. What do you think, Soup? Is this just the regular Black Noir, or could it be more complex than that?
He might be disappearing in the afternoons to go be maybe he's still banging Sage or somebody else. I don't know.
Well, see, I
But
think because he's banging Sage, if maybe anybody could be part of the plan, maybe it's him, right? Because
right, yeah.
he was banging Sage without her having to lobotomize herself. Whereas
Right.
when she was banging Deep, she had to lobotomize herself. So maybe there's something to that, right?
I think there's something there for sure. Yeah. So maybe I would not be shocked if he were part of the mutiny on Homelander or whatever the Sage is kind of putting together as a plan here, if that's the way it's going.
Jamie G, how about Firecracker? We've seen her kind of go all over the place. Now she can't make the milk for Homelander. She's banging Soldier Boy. She has a big social media following. What do you think they do with Firecracker here? Does she go out purely on Team Homelander? Does she side with Soldier Boy? Does she move over to the boys? Where do you think they're going with her?
I think she's going. I think she's going Team Soldier Boy here, man. I think she's gonna use her platform to, maybe start to make that kink in the armor for Homelander a little bit worse. And again, at the guidance of Sage, I could see her using her platform for that.
Here's my thing with her at this point, man. A name like Firecracker and the red hair and everything. Come to find out, she's got the bald bush, which is fine. I mean, a lot of people love the bald bush. Soldier Boy apparently doesn't. But I think with Firecracker, you almost have to have like a stick of dynamite or like a landing strip, bright red, on Firecracker. So a little bit of something, nothing you want to plant tomatoes in or anything like that, but something to say, hey man, I'm Firecracker, dude.
Well, a little bit of pop there, maybe
Yeah.
a couple little small guys, with the airplane style waving maybe on the side. I'm sure that would be great. But yes, I understand. Like there should be a little more pop. Her power was very kind of understated, I think, to say the least. And Soup, any chance that Soldier Boy got Firecracker pregnant? And that could be a thing.
I guess that
Because then
could
she
be a
could maybe
thing, but
start making milk again, right? Because her old problem with
Mm.
Homelander, she can't make the milk. If she got pregnant, maybe the milk starts flowing.
Yeah, I like that.
maybe I don't know. I mean, yeah. I mean, that's an interesting
If he
theory.
messed up, but I mean,
I didn't even think of that, but I guess it's a possibility. I guess it's a possibility. I would be, I don't know. I don't know if that's something you want to fucking bring up and, it's 3 episodes deep into the final season of a show, but maybe.
Yeah, again, I'll point you to all the incest that HBO has gone into over the past, 20 years. And
Yeah,
like,
there's not a lot of
yeah,
time to wrap up that storyline, though.
Right.
Like,
That's what I'm saying.
I guess for a future spinoff, I guess. I mean,
maybe they, poison Firecracker and, she transmits the virus via the titty milk.
Interesting.
Well, because they started out the whole first season. Remember, Homelander hated the idea that Teddy, Madeline Stillwell's baby, was getting the milk and everything, and that was the whole thing. So, perhaps him dying some way with the milk would be ironic. And that's nothing from the comics. There's nothing in there suggesting that. Stillwell isn't even that kind of character, but that could be, I don't know, maybe one way they could go. In Jamie G, if one part of the boys get to survive, who do you think deserves it the most? Is it Huey and Annie? Is it Frenchie and Kimiko? Or is it MM? Like if you had to pick, if only one of those three can survive, who is it?
I think it's got to be Huey. I mean, he's just dude's been a good dude basically the
Well,
entire
you
time.
get Huey and Annie. That's the key. You get Huey and Annie. You get
Yeah,
MM
I don't.
or MM and his family.
I just
and
don't
then
know that
Frenchie and
Annie.
Kimiko.
I don't know that Annie wants to survive, so it makes it tough. Huey deserves it. I guess I'm gonna go Frenchie and Kimiko here.
What do you think, Super? If only one can survive, you going Huey and Annie, Frenchie and Kimiko, or MM and his family?
I mean, I like all three choices, for their own reasons or whatever, but I think Frenchie and Kimiko's the one that stands out the most for me. The only reason I would even lean towards Huey and Annie is because that's kind of what started the show, and it'll be a wrap up, kind of come full circle with the two of those or whatever. But for my personal preference would be Frenchie and Kimiko.
I think y'all both make excellent points. I'd love to go with MM. It does seem like he is, shown some growth in this season, but I think I'm going to go with Huey and Annie because it makes a lot of sense. I just feel like they're going to have a son named William, and then at the very end, at the final scene of the series, they're taking Huey and Annie are taking the young William and Lenny maybe out to the steakhouse in Vegas where they show your bops where they give you the T-bones or the fillets or whatever, just like Butcher asked Huey to do in season 4. So that's what I'm going
I
with
like
there.
that.
But overall, Jamie G, on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you on the boys landing the plane in a way that you love? Scale of 1 to 10, what's your confidence here in the landing?
I would say 7.5. I mean, I'm pretty confident in it.
Soup, it's 3 episodes out of 8 in. What's your confidence level on the boys landing the plane? Scale of 1 to 10.
I do have a lot of faith in the show and the way the show goes, but ending a show like this on this magnitude and or any show in general is tough. I mean, the expectations are super high, and it's a lot on the table right now, so it's a difficult landing. I'm gonna give him an 8.
I was waiting for you to. 9.8. No, 8 is fair. I'm right there. I think splitting the difference, JBG 7.5, 8. I am right there in that range. I would say an 8 because I think they have shown a confidence level early in these 3 episodes that they haven't shown probably since the first since the first season, if we're being perfectly honest. I did love the first 3 of season 3, but I think they're in a great spot here. I think they're in a spot where they can both keep it up and also pay homage to the ending in the comics, which I did not think there was any way they could actually pull that off. And now I think there's a path to doing so. So I'm very excited to see the end of this epic story and excited to keep talking about it with y'all.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys for checking out another episode here of Compound B. We appreciate you riding it with us and being a part of this show. It's been a ton of fun doing this. We're going to be here for the rest of the season. Let us know what you're thinking. If you loved it, you hated it, if we missed anything, you can get at us on our social media, or you can drop a comment wherever you watched or listened to this episode. Mills will let you know where you can find all of our details.
Don't be afraid to acknowledge the Buffalo Sabres who are on the warpath. We appreciate that. Absent that, thank you very much for checking out this episode of Compound B, a show about the boys. We are presented by Regular Dudes Watch Stuff. Find our content wherever you get your pods and on YouTube. We're on social media at Dudes Watch Stuff and on the World Wide Web at dudeswatchstuff.com. Simple and easy to remember, just like the flaps. FLAPS. Very crucial to our success. Follow, like, and please subscribe if you had fun. Please remember to touch that thumb. And I'm out of here. Soup's out of here. Jamie G's out of here. But before we go, Soup, tell everybody in this episode what the B in Compound B stands for.
Well, you know what, man? The B in this episode of compound B, stands for brew. The ingredients in this brew do not include Rick Moranis or Dave Thomas, however, but the boys are certainly concocting and whipping up a strange brew of their own. I can't wait to check it out. You guys, everybody out there, don't be a fucking hoser, and see you next week. Watch the episode and enjoy.